Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Chase Down Block here on the Chase Thomas podcast with my good friend, Swish Theory, Roundball Ramble, Corban Ford. Corban, good evening, sir. How are you?
I am doing okay, my friend. How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's amazing that we're only a week away from the NBA season being back. We have actual games to talk about. Zion Williamson looks healthy and good. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm watching way too much preseason. I'm buying all the way back in on the Hawks and how they have looked this preseason. Trey talking about the team getting back together earlier than ever since he's been a Hawk. Like, all the vibes are great all across the board, unless you're the Oklahoma City Thunder making trades that you should not be making. But yeah, man, it's weird that we're a week away, but we are a week away.
Oh, I'm ready. And I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm not watching the preseason. I'm just ready for the regular season. I can't get hyped up anymore. My Lakers look good. Like, bring on all the marbles. Like, let's get into it. For the next 6 months, I want to just be gone. Like, for the next 6 months, I want to be transported to another lane. And that's just the obsession of NBA basketball. So let's get it.
I like it. How many games do you watch a night during the season? How do you break it up? Do you watch multiple games at once? Do you do one at a time? Do you pick some to... How do you break it up?
So I will watch... I watch the marquee games, obviously. I mean, the ones that are on ESPN, whatever, they get, like, priority, right? Unless I have a League Pass team that I'm really interested in. So, I don't know, in this case... Let's say just throwing like the Timberwolves out there. I'm interested in seeing what they do. Or I'm very much interested in what Charlotte does. Obviously, my Lakers are first, like that. So I'm going to watch priority. I'm going to focus on the big games, right? After that, or at the same time, commercials. I mean, so many games happening. I'm looking at games that have either intriguing matchups, have players I'm trying to follow, a podcast I'm probably doing a team on, and interesting games. Like, if it's a tight game, fine. If it's a blowout, you get last. I'll look at you, see who's doing well, who's not doing well. I'll circle back around to watch that at a later time. Maybe I'll fall asleep to a game. Like, that's how obsessive we get during the season. We fall asleep to basketball. Like, I'll put that aside because what we're focusing on is like, okay, I want to see the best matchups. I want to see teams that I have notes on, players that I have notes on. So in order, I would say my team, Lakers, boom. Intriguing matchups, League Pass teams, close games. That's the second tier, boom. And the third tier was blowouts. I mean, I don't care if you are the bottom, if you're the worst teams in the East and West playing each other. If it's a close game, I will watch it. Now, if it's a close bad game, maybe I'll watch it with one eye, look in there, one eye on the computer on Twitter or something. But the last thing for me is blowouts, because we already know where it's going to go. So I know I have to focus on the competitive portion of the game. I'll look at different highlights for different players. What takeaways can I take from this game for this team, these players, whatever the case may be. But I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into that matchup because, like, one team had a lot and one team had a little. That's the bottom line. And there's stories in between that, but we'll parse that out on a second watch.
Okay, I like it. I usually pick like a team a week outside of the Hawks. I watch every Hawks game, and then I pick Carlin Gay of Sporting News is the one who put me on this a couple years ago. Who he watches one team a week just to get a feel for that team, because it's hard to keep up with everybody throughout the week in League Pass, and you just pick one to watch, I guess, 2 or 3 games that week, and then you have a pretty good feel for where that team is, and you'll circle back in a couple of months about where they're at, and sometimes they'll be on the other team each week. But I love that system for League Pass for me, is because that just gives it, you feel like you really do have a good idea for that one team at that point in time, along with your own team.
I would agree. I think I'm gonna steal that, actually. A team a week.
It's good, and it makes fun
to help for this show. Yeah, it'll make fun. Yeah. Focus, cap, snapshot. If you see us on the Roundball Ramble podcast, just go with it. I got it from you. There we go. I would say I didn't get it from you, but no, on record, I got it from you.
I didn't even get it from me. I got it from Carlin, so shout out to Carlin.
Well, there we go.
Well, there you go, Corban. First thing that I want to get to, actually, before we get into our NBA conversation, don't forget, folks, each and every Tuesday, Corban Ford and myself talk all things NBA here on the Chase Down Block NBA show on this very feed. So look out for that every Wednesday on your preferred podcast player. And you can also watch us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, first, thank you for checking out the program. Make sure you like and subscribe all the different content that we've got coming up each and every day. It's a daily national sports show outside of here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So not just for the Tennessee folks, but we cover all sports as a whole. So look out for Chase Down Block, the NBA programming here on this very feed each and every Wednesday, taping it on Tuesday nights. You can get in touch with us. If you want to email the show, you can do so at chasethomaspodcast@gmail.com with any NBA questions you might have for Corban or myself. You can also tweet at us at podchasethomas. Check us out on TikTok, YouTube, all that, Chase Thomas Podcast. You can find us each and everywhere. And then also, the homepage, the website, all kinds of great content and more information about the show over at chasethomaspodcast.com. Corban, good off season, or did they get worse? The series continues with this week coming up. The Utah Jazz, I think, was really interesting to me. So I want to pick your brain on the Utah Jazz. Rumored today, like Taylor Horton Tucker maybe going to the Houston Rockets. Maybe that's dead. We'll see what happens there. But when you look at what the Utah Jazz did this offseason, because I think they surprised a lot of folks last year. Their uniforms are the worst in the NBA. Cannot stand these highlighter uniforms that they got cooking for the next couple of years in Utah. But uniforms aside, Corban, when you look at what Utah did and where they're at going into this year, did they get better this offseason?
It's interesting that you asked. I mean, first, I want to go back on. Let me ask you this about the Utah Jazz uniforms. What's the last good uniform that you liked from the Jazz? Because
it's the Stockton Malone. Like, those are the best.
I don't know if I like those.
Why?
I don't know. The mountaintop ones, it just feel weird to me. Like, my favorite one's probably like the Darren Williams ones.
Those aren't bad.
Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer, those. The Carlos
I'm okay with
Boozer, yeah, those probably appeal to me a little more. Just the straight Jazz with the white and the blue. I mean, plus they were a deadly guard forward combo. But anyway, that is why I like. I mean, the mountain ones are fine. They just feel like they're cool. They're cool. Let me say this. I just didn't personally like them aesthetically. They remind me of like they feel married to that time. Like they feel married to the 90s. Like those
I think that's
Rockets.
Okay. Well, I have a take on this, Corban.
Yes, let's get it.
I feel like if you're really good during a certain time and your franchise is relatively new, or like just lean into that identity. Like the Chicago Bulls should never change their logo. Like it's the 90s and late 80s. Like it always works. Never switch it up. Like you identify with Michael Jordan, people will always identify with that look and that Chicago Bulls look. Like it's not broken. Like the Utah Jazz are a bigger brand and more recognizable with the mountaintop, with that purple, with that blue. Like that is the most notable. Like you just think greatness. Like the Spurs, like they're not doing it. They're like you have the black and white and the silver, and it works. Like you never go away from that because you identify winning over the course of 30 years with that look. And I just think you should associate when you do stumble into a decade of greatness with a certain uniform set. I would never run away from it. I would just keep that identity.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the whole city uniforms that they keep trotting out every year. They need to stop. They need to do like the NFL or something and just hold on to uniform for 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and then come with something fresh because this is getting derivative and kind of stupid. So I can agree with you to a certain extent on that.
Kuzma's even upset. Did you see his tweet about it?
I did not.
Yeah, Kuzma's like he's just like when you change the uniform so much, there's no brand identity for any of these teams anymore.
That's true. I mean, every year it's a different one. Like, I mean, it makes it fun for 2K. You have all these different options to choose from.
Yeah.
Anyways,
he said, by the way, he said, Nike is ruining the nostalgia of jerseys. Every year it's a new jersey, and what gets lost is brand identity.
He isn't wrong.
No.
And if Kyle Kuzma, fashion maven himself, says that, might want to rethink your brand in there, Nike. Just saying.
There you go. And also the Wizards went away from their best uniforms. The ones they wore that Cherry Blossom one, they're not wearing those this year.
Wow, interesting.
They finally had a good one, and they were like, no.
Those were interesting. I didn't like the whole. No, they were nice. They definitely had an appeal. And to go away from that, hope they know what they're doing.
They probably don't. They're the Wizards.
Yeah,
but anyway, back to the Jazz.
Back to the Jazz. I like the Jazz. I think that they did get a little bit better incrementally. Incrementally, yeah, something like that. That's the word. Whatever. Mostly with their draft picks. Keontae George, drafted number 16, I thought was a steal. I had him much higher. He was in my top 10 in my personal draft board. Taylor Hendricks, who was personally drafted top 10, number 9, I think is a solid player as well. Bryce Sensabaugh, Again, another guy that was also in my top 10, top 15, drafted 28th rather. Just a steal. I like that. Re-signing Jordan Clarkson made sense. He's been a steady guard for them over this time. And then, of course, making the trade for Josh Collins, which, listen, Collins' shooting has definitely dropped all the way off the face of the earth, in Atlanta, but also he was in a marginalized role. I continue to say he didn't have a good fit there because he was the second guy, then he was kind of the third guy, then he was actually kind of the fourth guy, depending on how you look at, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray and, any of the other guys that made up that Hawks team. I mean, other guys stepped out DeAndre Hunter, like other guys stepped out of the woodwork and like took over that third spot that Collins didn't even really have locked down. So I think he's in a spot now where he can flourish. His athleticism is still a thing. If he can regain his shooting touch, that is solid. Playing alongside a guy like a Larry Markin, it's interesting. Just wanted to see how the fit works. Is Collins coming off the bench? Are they going to start Collins at the 5 and Markin at the 4? They're going to flip the 2. I am very curious to see how that works itself out. But I think when you look at those guys they added between the draft and obviously the trade for Collins, did they get like we're competing for a playing spot better? Probably not. But then again, I mean, they were a competitive bunch last year without that, right? They did fall hard down the end of the year. But this Jazz team, I mean, they were a weird, funky team that is hard to make sense of. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They just have a lot of interesting pieces. Like they could go win 38 to 40 games and I wouldn't be shocked. And they can go like 25 and 57 and I wouldn't be shocked. So there's one of those teams where the variance of that is so high as to where they can land. And I am very curious about that. But I have to say, objectively, I feel they did get better because you keep some of the guys that you had last year that were already made you a pretty sneaky strong team. And then you just add talent there. Who you lost, I mean, they weren't really impact players. Udoka Azubuike, Rudy Gay, Damian Jones, Juan Toscano Anderson. I'm sorry. They weren't really in the rotation, any of them. So, yeah, I think it's definitely something that I'm curious to see, like how they play. They're on one of my league pass teams to keep an eye on. But for sure, I think that they got better.
Who do you think is their best 5?
That is an excellent question. And one I've been struggling with because I don't know who you put at point guard for this team.
I mean, you don't start Keontae George right out of the gate?
I don't know. Maybe you do. I mean, Keontae George is one of the better passers of the lot. Let's say if I'm doing this, I am going to start Collins at the 5, Larry Markin at the 4.
You're not starting Kessler.
Oh, flip. Forgot about Walker Kessler. Jeez. Kessler at the 5, Markin at the 4. Collins coming off the bench.
Okay.
Sexton and Clarkson in the backcourt. And then who's your 3? That's a good.
This is what I'm saying. Like, it's a weird
Jazz preseason game, so I don't even know.
They're 3-1 right now.
Hendricks.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go. It could be Taylor Hendricks. It could be Ochai Agbaji. Bryce Sensabaugh could get a look there.
Well, right now they got THT, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. I don't think that works in the regular season. I don't care how good of a coach Will Hardy is.
That means Markkanen or Collins is playing the. Well, no, that means Markkanen is playing the 3.
Be at the 3, yeah.
Which, mind you, Markkanen is done before, like in Cleveland, most notably. But I don't know if I like that. I mean, it worked actually. It was one of those weird kind of fake it till you make it type things that kept faking it.
Yeah.
But like, come on, it's gonna be. I mean, maybe size wise, he might hold up against some of like the bigger wings who are more on power. But like, I still think LeBron is faster, even at 38.
Yeah.
Kawhi can still move there. I wouldn't want him on an island on Paul George, even at his early third. Like, I don't know if I like that. But I guess, like, I mean, you're in a weird spot because who's your 3? Like, your 1 is curious because, again, you have Colin Sexton, you have Taylor Horton-Tucker, you have Jordan Clarkson, you have Keontae George. Like, all those guys are capable of playing the 1 or the 2. I don't like either of them for the 3. Yeah, that's a weird one. But no, you're right. Walker was an impact maker. I feel bad. I forgot about him altogether. Walker has to be at the 5. I would put Markin at the 4. I would start. You know what? What the heck? Colin Sexton, Keontae George in the backcourt, Clarkson at the 3. Undersized, kind of weird, but it could work.
I just don't want Clarkson ever starting. Like, I just feel like he should always be on the bench. Like, Clarkson should always be the first guard off the bench.
Yeah, and he's comfortable in that role. I just, again, I don't know. Like, it's gonna be curious to see how the Jazz play, because that 3 spot is important. And like I know for a fact, I think we all know for a fact, Markkanen's ideal role is at the 4.
I think they just have to kind of, when you look at this roster to me, I think you just have to take the lumps with Keontae George starting. I think you just have to let him work through it. I think you have to just kind of throw him to the wolves and let him work around a bunch of bigs and vets and see how it works.
I mean,
Colin Sexton missed a lot of time last year. I don't like Colin Sexton THT backcourt. Like, the shooting is just going to be so bad. Like, there's not a lot of options. Like, Taylor Hendricks I think would be a good player, but you look at it, Fonte Chio, who I think was the Italian who was shooting really well for them last year. I mean, that he'll help a little bit, but like Agbaji is not a good shooter. Sexton's not a good shooter. THT is not a good shooter. Chris Dunn's not a good shooter. I mean, you just go, but now John Collins is, I mean, very streaky. We'll see how his finger is this year in Utah. Walker Kessler's not spacing the floor. I don't know. I think they're going to be really good defensively, but I think they're going to be worse. My gut tells me Utah's actually going to be sneaky pretty bad in the West. The West is just too loaded. And like this roster looks like a roster that just, I don't know. My gut tells me they got worse.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. Actually, my fault. I agree with your first point about the West being good and the Jazz being a sneaky bad team. My bad. I don't agree that they got worse. I just don't see it per se. I think the West got better around them. Like, that's what I think. Like, they're a solid team in my opinion, but I think the West got better around them, and I think that's the issue.
Yeah. Next up, Corban. True or false? I just completely forgot that Max Strus is a Cleveland Cavalier, and it's going to take me like the first 10 games of the season to remember that he's a Cleveland Cavalier. But my question to you, Tom Zillerg has a great newsletter called Good Morning It's Basketball on Substack. Go subscribe if you have not already. OG NBA writer, love reading his stuff. And he was doing like different like non-stars who are going to impact teams this week. And he talked about Max Strus in a little bit, and I just completely, like, it was one of those things where I could just go back through it. I'm like, oh yeah, Max Strus. And he kind of had a rough end to last season with Miami. Didn't shoot the ball well down the stretch for them, but I think it was a sneaky huge addition for Cleveland. Do you agree? Do you think he sticks? Because Cleveland has been looking for that. Monty Bates has popped a little bit this offseason. Obviously, you got Isaac Okoro, who you used a lottery pick on a couple of years ago, and he's been that kind of guy, but it's just not working. He's in their Andre Roberson role right now, and it's just not a place you want to be. And it's just probably the offense probably isn't coming for Okoro, unfortunately. But I don't know. Like, I think sneaky, he's really important in terms of what they can be this year. And I think if Max Strus is now a nice bounce back year and proves that it was not all Miami system, I really do like Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland. Do you agree? Do you think true or false? Do you think he actually sticks and it works out?
I do. I think defensively, if he can at least defend his position semi-capably, it'll be more than enough, because his gravity that he brings to the shooter will be fine. Like, he had a down season. I mean, honestly, so the 21-22 season was like the highlight of his shooting. He shot 41% from 3. Last season, shot 35%. 2 seasons ago, he shot 33%. Before his career, he's a 37% three-point shooter, and a volume three-point shooter at that. So he's going to take the shots. You can't leave him open. And that, when you have a backcourt that you do with a Darius Garland and a Donovan Mitchell that, will get into the lane and penetrate and make plays. You have those 2 lob threats, between Mobley and Allen. And then you have a guy you can't really play off of in Strus, or one who will make you pay. Yeah, that's important. That's something the Cavs haven't had. I mean, he shot 35% last season on 7 threes a game. 41% the season before on 6 threes a game. He's getting them up at a fairly decent clip. He's going to have more now, and this was off of a mostly bench role. Started 33 games last season. It's a career high for him. Started 16 games the season before that. He's a starter now. So, like, I think you have that. You have someone that you can't really cheat off of too much, that defenders will respect. That's all that the Cavs are looking for at the 3 position. I mean, defensively, you can hold your position. That'd be great. But, Karis LeVert, if he was a better shooter, probably would have been okay. You know what I mean? Like, before that, you had guys that weren't really fitting that. I mean, I don't want to speak bad about the Cavs search for a 3, but I mean, we kind of know that it's been an issue, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've had, I mean, what, outside of, I'm trying to think of, and he's been, oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank right now?
Karis LeVert.
No, Isaac Okoro. There you go.
Well,
Like,
Isaac
no disrespect
Okoro,
to
yeah,
Isaac
too.
Okoro,
Yeah.
Karis LeVert, you had Chetty Osman, you
George
had
Niang
36
now.
George Niang now, but before that you had Danny Green for like 8 games.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't had a good solid 3. A guy who you can't really, you have to respect in the offensive end as a shooter, because Karis LeVert's a good offensive player, just if he's a shooter, and the defensively can just kind of stay in that position. Everything
Yeah, they've had one or the other. They never had the complete version.
Exactly. I'm not saying Strus will be either, because defensively, yeah.
But is he the best chance? I feel like he's the best chance.
There you go. I think he is. Exactly.
Who's his closest comp? Who does he remind you of?
That's a good question. Max Strus. I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, I don't want to say he reminds me of a George Niang, but like you're kind of stocky, big, kind of shooter type. I'm trying to think. That's a very good one.
I sneaky love this Cavs rotation they've got cooking. So let me get their top 10 for you. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, George Niang, Dean Wade will get in there. George Niang, maybe Ty Jerome a little bit, but I mean, I look at that. Damian Jones, that's a really good 10-11 man rotation. Like, I really like that. No, they're gonna have an opportunity to go small a lot with George Niang at the 4. I don't know. I think I'm weirdly optimistic about them as a top 3 seed in the East right now.
No, that's interesting. I mean, top 3. I don't know. I think Miami's still good. But
I think they're better than Miami this year. What do you like more about Miami than Cleveland right now?
Well, I think Miami has continuity. I think that if you look at who they brought in, mind you, they didn't make any huge moves, but like Josh Richardson, I think is a solid contribution or contributing piece. I think having Thomas Bryant, a solid piece. Kevin Love is back, healthier, slimmer. You have Tyler Hero, which you didn't have in the postseason last season. I think he's up for a step up. Jimmy Butler's going to be solid as usual. Bam is going to be there as well. I love Nikola Jovic. I am very high on oh my goodness, Jaime Jaquez. I think that they're a solid team. And if we're going by like star power and like consistency, like yes, the Cavs are they have a chance to be a better regular season team for sure, especially as Miami Heat have injuries and we don't know which unknown rotation player is going to come out of their ranks here very soon, but we know it's going to happen. But I just feel like they had injuries and they weren't a great team last year, and that's why they had to kind of climb back at the end. It's not me feeling high about Miami as it is about me just not feeling as high about Cleveland. Let me see from Cleveland first how this looks, because they look good. They're still very much a matchup-oriented team. So yeah, I definitely see it in play that they're better. I just don't think it's like an easy peg them. They're the number 3 team.
What also the last memory we have of them getting just stomped by the Knicks. In
a major way.
Yeah. It's just a bad look, and Jared Allen being unplayable and just what that looked like. That was like the lasting impression, and we've just been sitting with that for months now. But I look at it, I'm like, I'm all the way back in. If you just wipe your brain of what happened to the Knicks in the 4-5 series in round 1, you're like, no, this team should win 50-plus games again. They should walk into 50-plus wins.
I was going to say, you may be able to do that easier than others, though. But no, I think you're right. I think that they definitely are going to be I think they definitely are going to be they have a chance to be a number 3 seed, like a very high chance. I just don't think it's like a book it right there.
I think they can get to number 2.
No, I don't think anyone's catching Boston, Milwaukee. I'm sorry.
I just want to see on injuries with Boston, Milwaukee.
Obviously, injuries obviously can play a major role regardless.
But you have to imply. I don't know why people just turn off injuries or some of the stuff where it's like, no, Chris Middleton and Kristaps Porzingis have to prove to me that they're going to be here in May. They're going to have to prove that they're going to be around for the majority of this season, because I think they're sneaky important. Let me see it. Let me see what it looks like. Let me see what the lack of depth in Boston looks like. Let me look at what Damian Lillard and Giannis actually look like. And they lost a lot of depth too. What is Adrian Griffin as a first-time head coach?
True. Well, this is the thing. I don't want to, I wouldn't, you can't turn off injuries, right? Like, injuries are a factor. But I'm not going to, Giannis is going down, or it's going to be Dame. I don't know who it is.
No, it wasn't Giannis. It's just Middleton for me.
Oh, no,
I want to see Middleton be healthy.
I mean, Middleton's a good one as well. Basically, I'm just saying I don't know who is. Middleton had a bad year last year, kind of a bad year the year before, but, he's been mostly solid. I just don't know who I would just immediately go, okay, you know what I mean? You're an injury risk. Because that's the case, then
Porzingis, too.
That's a good one, too. Okay,
no, Robert Williams. They're thin, man.
You know what? I don't know. I'm still not taking
The
him off the
Cavs are
top
just
2.
sitting there. That's what I'm saying. Like, the Cavs are just sitting there, and if Evan Mobley makes the leap, which he absolutely can, they're deep. Donovan Mitchell has a lot of motivation. Darius Garland getting better each and every year. Like, if Max Strus has a good, like, prove it, like, Miami made a mistake letting me go. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of Cleveland buzz for me. I'm drinking the Cleveland Kool-Aid right now.
I can tell. No, I get you. I'm not of that same mind, but I get it. Also, comparing Max Strus, I would say like a Joe Harris.
Ooh, okay.
Joe Harris, Muscala type kind of guy.
Mm,
I think that makes sense offensively. I mean, even like
Yeah.
a dunk. I don't want to compare him to just white shooters, but like
you better go Mike Miller.
Mike Miller, exactly. Steve Novak.
Okay, now we're being disrespectful. All right,
Exactly.
let's move forward. Corbin, once we get into Steve Novak territory, we know we've jumped the
Discount
shark.
double check. You saw him at the Knicks alumni game a couple days ago.
I did not.
It was pretty
Chris
cool seeing all
Copeland
those
there?
guys. I didn't see Copeland. I did see Raymond Felton.
Okay.
Raymond Felton looks like a tight end now.
Anthony
I
Randolph?
didn't see Anthony Randolph. I saw Latrell Sprewell.
Jared Jeffries? Okay.
No, it was Latrell Sprewell. It was Nate Robinson. It was Steve Novak. It was
Jeremy Lin?
No. Listen, Jeremy Lin isn't a Knicks legend. Jeremy Lin is
hold on, what? No, he's absolutely a Knicks legend. What do you mean?
For like 36 games?
That's a legend. What do you mean? There's books about him and his time there. No, he's absolutely a legend.
He's an urban legend. Okay, I'm just kidding.
No, he's not an urban legend. He's just a legend. Like, he's a Knicks legend.
You know he's 35?
Who, Jeremy Lin?
Yep. Did that make you feel old yet?
That's upsetting.
Yeah, no, he's still playing. He plays with the Taipei Kings. Kings? I think I said that right. But okay, I guess he's a Knicks legend. He only played there one season.
Now, Andy Routens have some issues.
Now we move forward.
What's Tony Douglas up to? I always liked him.
Listen, Tony Douglas had no conscience when it came to shooting. I'm with it.
Yeah, I like
11, baby.
Well, I like third guards like that. Like, I've always like those kind of like, because Ish Smith is like the antithesis of what I want in a guard. Like, I don't know what Ish Smith's ever done well. Like, he's one of those guards who he just gobbles up minutes, but he's not good at one particular thing. He just hangs around.
He's a solid guard. And then if
but
you
is
say,
he? What is he good at? It's like Ramon Sessions. What was he good at?
And I was about to say, and if you say, what is he solid at? I struggle to tell you. But he's a solid guard.
No, give me a guard. Like, I want my backup to be Jordan Clarkson or Delon Wright, who I know it. Like, the Hawks missed him significantly last year because Delon Wright, man, he's long, rangy, forced a lot of steals, rebounded well. Like, I knew exactly what Delon Wright was. Complete antithesis of Trae Young. But, like, no, you need, like, I don't know. I never liked those backup guards who don't have any discernible strong traits. Like, if you're coming off the bench, you better have something to bring to the table. You better be something different or something that you know exactly what you're good at coming into the league to stick. I just don't. Ish Smith, guys like that, I just never cared for that kind of point guard or really any kind of player off the bench.
Listen, if you're a guy who can scrap, do I want you on my team? No, but I think you deserve a place in the league. I will give you that.
You're nicer than me, Corbin. No place for Ish Smith on my nothing personal.
A stand-up, high character guy who just wants to be in the league and been around for years. And Chase says, "This is where I draw the line."
No, because he just shoot the ball a little bit well. Shoot 35% from three. Do something really well. That's just me. Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like Calvin Booth being open about Bruce Brown and Bones Hyland? Because I think that was one of the sneaky, hilarious things that came out over the last week. That I read the quotes and I couldn't believe that it was actually a genuine quote from Calvin Booth.
So, did I like it? It was funny. Like, I laughed when I read it. But no, I didn't like it. One of those guys still on your team, the other guy isn't. But like that gives a bad look. Like, you're talking about people both on your team and those who are not. Like, no, I don't think that gives a good look. And mind you, like, I get where he's coming from. I don't disagree with the statement. You just don't say that. You are not an ex-teammate. You are not, a man of the street or a woman of the street, person of the street. You are legit the executive of the team. And to hear someone talking disparagingly, which is what it was, about a player that has left your team, what does it say about players who are looking at that team like, wow, Denver looks good, but listen, their GM kind of a bit of a jerk. Who knows? Or a guy who's already playing, Michael Porter, like, I'm a selfish me first player. Like, did you see me in the playoffs? Like, I went down there and gang rebounded. I was a beast around the boards too. I played serviceable defense. Like I didn't just shoot the ball. Like what are you talking about? Like that's the type of needless stuff you just don't have to say that can actually like not damage a team's morale, but like we've seen sometimes teams unite around their team against a GM. We saw with the Bulls, and Jerry Krause back in the day. I'm not saying this is anywhere near that. I'm just saying like you did yourself no favors and you didn't have to do that. Like that wasn't something you had to do. I don't understand why you felt the need to have to say that. I can see if you were a retired GM, an ex-GM. I don't know. I just don't understand what you had to gain from that, aside from making us chuckle and talk about it over the next couple of days.
I agree with not on your team anymore. You're just like it's okay. Like it's just like they moved on. But I mean, his logic's sound. Like it's just kind of. I just like the fact that we actually got a GM who's talking openly about like why he's doing what he did. And I mean, he's a championship winning GM now, and his logic on. I mean, do you disagree with how he looked at Bones Hyland and Michael Porter Jr. and how
I mean, listen, I didn't say I disagreed. I didn't say I disagreed.
I don't even think it was that disparaging. Like, do you think Michael Porter Jr. disagrees with that assessment?
Selfish me first player, I would.
I don't. But do you think he is though?
I don't know. I don't know Michael Porter. Michael Porter, we know, has had some interesting thoughts about lots of things over the last like he's definitely someone out there. Like I would not even begin to guess what Michael Porter thinks because I do feel like he's somebody who's a little different. I like him. I'm just saying like who knows. But the bottom line is like if I would be like that. There's no way to. He said it. You were selfish me first player. Yep, that's me, Michael Porter. Selfish.
But he was saying a me guy. I think he meant me guy in terms of like I'm just like he cares about his numbers. He cares about shooting. He cares about scoring.
But listen, there's no way that comes off as something that's good. I mean, maybe Michael Porter takes some pride now. Like, yeah, that's right. I mean, like if you're on a team and you help team win team goals and someone calls you a me player. Yeah. And like I loved how Michael Porter played defense. I loved how he was on the boards during the postseason and the playoffs. Like I don't look at that and go, yeah, that's true. I mean,
James Harden's a me player. He was a me player and almost won a title.
Yes. And if you call James Harden now, he'd probably ask to be traded.
I will say though,
like, nobody wants to hear that about themselves.
I think it was more wild what he said about Bruce and Peyton Watson because he said some of these teams were trying to get Bruce, trying to make it worth it. It's like just be careful what you wish for, which is wild. About, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. Like I would probably bet against Bruce Brown outside of the Nugget system and what Nikola Jokic and company did for him as a player. But that's also just like commonplace. Role players getting paid a lot more money to go somewhere else and it just doesn't really work out. But hey, that's just like how it works. Like you got to go get your money, and Bruce got paid.
Nature of the business.
Yeah, he's
so
not
be careful
probably,
what you wish for. Who says that?
He what?
But I'm saying, but be careful what you wish for. Who says that?
Yeah, that's probably
like that doesn't make.
But he said,
sense.
But here's the other part. Peyton's bigger, he's longer, he's more athletic, he guards better, he passes better. It's like, dude, Peyton Watson hasn't done anything. If you're gonna be that open and that confident, man, you're putting a lot of pressure on this kid because Bruce Brown was an important championship player for you a year ago and significantly. Like Peyton Watson, man, if I'm Peyton Watson out of all the guys who were cited here, if I'm Peyton Watson, I'm the most like, dude, why are you putting all this out here? What, like that's a lot of pressure on me. I've never played any serious rotation or playoff basketball in my life, and you're saying I'm better than Bruce Brown? Then that's a lot.
It is. I think he's trying to simultaneously pump himself up, like pump up Peyton, while also it feels like a jilted ex-lover. Like I don't need that person. Like yeah, Bruce was fun, but my new player, oh my gosh, like Peyton is so good. He's so big, he's so strong. Like I'm not even gonna miss him. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I went voice there, but anyway, like bottom line, like he's trying to console himself. It almost feels like again, nothing to gain from that. Even if you're trying to pump Peyton up, you can say, hey, we're very confident in Peyton Watson's ability to step up and the impact that we think he'll make for this team. I think that he has the talent. Yada yada. Buzzword. We all go home. Like, I mean, I'm not a GM. I'm nowhere close to that. The blueprint's right there. He decided to go the way he did. I think it's cool. I guess if you want something refreshing, we'll see how long he keeps that up because either they're going to bounce, like he won't keep it up, bottom line. But again, it wasn't necessary. I could see if like a player gave a shot about you and you returned in kind or something. Okay, sure. Should you? No, but why not? He came for you, don't come for me unless I sent for you. Like I get that. But like that just seemed like a little extra unnecessary and I don't know what purpose to serve. Now, if Peyton Watson comes out and plays like a 6 man of the year candidate, okay, maybe it lit the fire under him. I'm still gonna look at it like, but it worked. But if he doesn't, like, what did you accomplish outside of giving us something to talk about and having people look at you like, why, Calvin? Like, what do you like? You win a championship, like run your mouth like the coach did?
I mean, I don't disagree. There you go. New place, new face. One guy who changed teams that you're excited about how he fits in his new team right now, Corban, as we continue this weekly series. Who's the next one for you?
It's ironic, but Bruce Brown.
Oh,
I just want to see how he fits in Indiana. Like, I didn't think it was an immediate fit. I think he's a better shooter, but like I don't think he's like a great shooter. I like his playmaking and passing ability. And I guess that'd be good as like a supplementary playmaker alongside, or coming off the bench in my mind or something like that. Like if he's starting, I don't know. But coming off the bench, I like that. But like Tyrese Halliburton, you kind of want the ball in his hands. Like I kind of feel like he's somebody that's solid there. But I don't think he's solid. I think he's great. But like bottom line, like Bruce Brown, he shot 35% from three. Now for his career, actually, he's a 34% three-point shooter. We're talking about a guy who literally took a career high in attempts last season, and that was 3.2 per game. Like he's not burning down the nets, folks. Like he's a solid all-around player. Last season, career high, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And mind you, if you look at his numbers, they have been building every season, with the exception that 2020-2021 season in Brooklyn, where his assists definitely dropped. And honestly, his Brooklyn seasons in general just weren't super great. But he did good in Detroit. He found good in Denver. I just don't know if it's, I don't know. I feel like he's more of like a super six man than a starter. And even then, like his impact, while helpful, I mean, I think it helped the championship team get to another level. Now we're going to see what it does for like an up and coming team. And what does that do? Does he become a member of the core and just, help them raise another level? Or is it like Evan Turner going to Portland? Like, I don't know. I'm curious. But that's someone I'm looking forward to see because I don't know what he's not really my type of player. He's a solid jack of all trades, master of none type guy. But I mean, you can't deny the impact he's had, for the Nuggets this season, and at times for Brooklyn, and at times for Detroit. I just want to see if this is something he can keep up as he enters the prime of his career at age 27. If this is something we're going to see like another step up for him, or is he going to kind of recede more into like a supporting role, even less than he is currently, than he was with Denver. So it's just different. That fit just seemed interesting. I thought his best bet was going to Denver. I think it helped him, kind of shore up his own offensive weaknesses. His defense definitely was a massive boon there. I don't know. I'm definitely curious about that fit, though.
What do you think is the best four around him? When you consider Rick Carlisle's game and what he likes to do, what do you think would be the best four for Bruce Brown?
I mean, you want to have shooting. Like, you want to have some spacing around him. So if we do what? Halliburton, Mathurin, Brown,
Turner,
Toppin at the 4, Turner at the 5.
Ooh. Okay.
Or I would say top. I'm trying to think because Toppin defensively is not good, but like spacing wise, he's fine. I'm not a Toppin fan either. I just don't like his body language half the time. But like spacing at the 4 for Toppin, the lob threat there. I'm trying to think of another guy to play the 4 for Indiana.
They don't have a lot. They have a lot of guards. I don't know how.
That's what I'm about to say. I feel like they're more guard heavy. I mean, you have, of course,
Buddy Hield, Andrew Nembhard.
Yeah, I don't think you're starting Jarace Walker because that's the other guy I was thinking. No, it's too soon. Yeah, so maybe you start Obi Toppin. Jalen Smith is there, but I feel like he's more of like a bench guy for sure. Yeah, so I think that's it because you have some floor spacing, you have some defensive upside, around him. I mean, well, not really with Toppin, but you have, Turner there to clean up the mess. I think I like Mathurin's defense a little bit. Halliburton's okay, right? And then Brown, of course. I think you want to capitalize on that. He's somebody that he can still make plays within there. Tal Halliburton can play off ball a little bit alongside him for spot shooting. Obviously, Mathurin can. What Turner's going to do. Like, yeah, I think that's probably the best bet for him.
I like it. Corban Ford. Final thing here before we move on this edition of the program. We did favorite NBA sophomore last week. Favorite NBA junior heading into this new season, going into year 3. Who is your favorite year 3 player to keep an eye on right now? Year 3, sneaky big jump year.
Yeah. Let's see what Jalen Green does.
You just love the Rockets. You did Jabari Smith, and now you're going to Jalen Green. You love the Rockets. Are you putting the Rockets in the playoffs?
So, no. Like, I'm not. I feel like they're a play-in team potentially. But like I love their draft picks last couple years. Jabari Smith was number 1 on my board, Houston. Jalen Green, number 1 on my board, Houston. Like these are guys I was already enamored with for different things they bring. I mean, the shooting guard like archetype that Jalen Green fits is my favorite kind of anyway. I love, what we see from Jabari Smith, and I really think he's going to have a much, much bigger year. Like I don't know. I guess I am high on them.
I mean, do you think it works? Like if you had to put on your crystal ball or look through a crystal ball a year from now, does Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet work as a backcourt defensively? Can they play together in crunch time?
I mean, in crunch time, I think they can. It depends on how much Jalen Green improves defense. Like, obviously, Fred VanVleet's size is not going to change. He's not growing 4 inches at any point, especially not after 30, right? But defensively, I think he's pretty solid for his position when he gets after it and everything. So, like, if Jalen Green can step and defend his position well, you can at least, quote unquote, hide, Fred VanVleet on a lesser defender or a defender that he's not going to be exploited as much. Let Jalen Green take on a bigger assignment. Maybe you have, Amen Thompson, Torrey Eason, one of those guys at the 3, obviously Jabari at the 4, and then, or maybe Jabari at the 5, and then who knows who you have at the 5, whether it is an Alperen Sengun if he steps up, or, I'm sorry, I forgot. You don't have to worry about Torrey Eason or Amen Thompson at the 3. You got Dylan Brooks if he's not ejected. So, like, you have that as well. I think that you want to see a big step up from Jalen Green defensively before you go out and say that, but I think it could work enough. I mean, the Raptors won a championship with, Van VanVleet wasn't starting, but like they won a championship and they've been a competitive team for at least 2 years with Fred VanVleet in the backcourt, going into playoffs. So like, I don't think they're like going after him like in a relentless type of like seek him out way. He can play defense. He's just smaller. We'll see how that remains as he ages. But I definitely think Jalen Green needs to assume a bigger defensive responsibility. And that's why I'm looking at him stepping up there. I also think that he's actually, for the first time in his career, outside maybe whatever you want to think of John Wall, playing with like a true point guard over the last couple of years. And I think that will unlock his game so much more. So like, there's a reason I like these guys. And yes, I want to back up my guys. But I think that they're in a position now where they're able to have their game flourish more. Like they're in a position where they can actually focus on their strengths and not have to assume a high usage offensive role where their efficiency just goes tank to the bottom, or have to take all these crazy shots because you're not getting better shots created for you. And this is the only thing you can make for yourself at this time with focused defensive attention. Like that's what I think is going to be different for both Jalen Green and for Jabari Smith Jr. But in this case, yeah, Jalen Green, I think he has to take a big step. Another guy I'll throw out, Evan Mobley. Offensively, let's grow a little bit more. Like defensively, been great, but like let's be real, you were not good defensively against the Knicks last postseason, but you also weren't good offensively either. And for someone who's flashed a 3-point shot, like let's get there. Let's get out of the high 20s. Like let's be a little more consistent. Your shot looks fluid. Focus on that. Be a little more assertive offensively. I think the Cavs are a very solid team with Darius Garland, with Donovan Mitchell, with all these guys in tandem. But I think they go another level if Evan Mobley is the best player on this Cavs team. I think they do. I think that is what they need to do if they really want to see themselves cracking conference finals, NBA finals in the future. I think Evan Mobley needs to be the best player on this team. We've kind of seen Donovan Mitchell as the best player on this team. I know we haven't seen Darius Garland there, but I don't think we will.
Yeah.
And that's all, folks. Like Jared Allen's not leading the team anytime soon. Max Strus and George Niang. I don't know. I think I do. But that's not the point. Like bottom line, like if the Cavs want to reach a level that they think they can get to, Evan Mobley is like a huge step up. So like Jalen Green's a personal one for me. I definitely want to see how he flourishes in a good team environment. But Evan Mobley's been in a good team environment for at least 2 seasons now. Now, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to improve from there?
I like it. Corban Ford, what can the good folks check out from you over Roundball Ramble, Swish Theory, everywhere else this week?
Listen, this week we're going to finish some team previews, division previews. We're going kind of slow because once the season starts, we aren't stopping. We're going to be the Chase Thomas of NBA all the time, which is going to be kind of crazy. And I don't know how I'm going to do it because, Chase, you have energy I don't have. But we're going to try it.
That's a lot of work. Are you ready? Are you
Listen, I'm looking at you for inspiration. Like literally right now through the lens and in general, like following your, like I'm going to have to because we just got to step it up this year. And so
you can do it.
I mean, listen, I'm not you. I'm gonna do my best to represent, but
You can do it.
listen, Chase, you're a legend. We're trying to reach that status here on this end. But
No, you can do
that's
it.
the plan. That's the plan, man. I appreciate you.
Well, go check them out as the season gets underway. One of the best NBA writers, podcasters going right now. So make sure you're locked in with Corban Ford as this NBA season gets ready to go. Swish Theory, Ramble everywhere else. Keep up with Corban on socials and all that good stuff. And Corban Ford, next week, NBA games to talk about.
Let's flip and go.
Corban Ford, always a pleasure. Talk to you soon.